Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to yet another video about the Lava Lich 3 set Pyromancer build. This build has given me a lot of headache here and there, trying to make it work. This is the third kind of iteration or video that I've made about this build. And after looking at some comments and having some suggestions from a few of you, I've come to you now today to present a bit better of a build, a bit stronger. Still not one of my favorite builds to use personally. I definitely can't recommend this. I will get into that a bit later though. So today we're just going to be reviewing the whole build, going over the gear again, and then going over how I played it in the run that's being played in the background here. So first, let's go over the abilities. The three abilities that we're using now, through a bit of suggestion from some of the comments, is we're running Eruption, obviously, just because that's the main premise of the build. We're using 3-set Lava Lich, so Eruption is a must-have for me. We're running Thermal Bomb, and that's because there's a certain mod that we use that gives us about a 40% damage increase, which is that's from a suggestion in the comments. A few people suggested, I'm pretty sure. And the third ability running is Heat Wave, and that's also mainly for another 25% damage boost. It adds pretty much the same thing as Thermal Bomb, but we'll get into those two abilities and the mods they go with when we get to the armor mod section. And so after the abilities, we're going to get into the skill tree here. And for the skill tree, it's the same thing. If you watched any either of the two previous videos, it's the same skill tree. We're running the whole bottom tree. We're taking as much cooldown reduction as we can, and we're going into extinction. We're also getting our cheat death, and then we're going all the way to the end for the explosion damage. So it's the whole bottom tree, getting as much cooldown reduction and extinction. After the skill tree, I'm going to get the gun out of the way, so it doesn't matter too much what gun you use, but I would recommend getting Fortress, which comes from a certain shotgun. I think it's called Death Shield. But Fortress is definitely a good mod to have because it's just a 43% damage bonus if you can get the full 43%. And that 43% does actually kind of make a difference. The gun itself plays a bit of a role in this just because this whole build is based around a cooldown, and that cooldown is way too long. And the gun, I pretty much run out of ammo at some point in the run on both my guns, so it kind of does get pretty scuffed at some point. But that's the gun out of the way. So now into the juice of the build. So here's the armor that I'm running, and it's 3-set Lava Lich, as I've said. Helmet, chest, and waist are the 3 pieces of the actual set that I'm using. Reason for this, the reason you don't use the hands or the feet are because the feet and hands give you max HP instead of anomaly power, and we want as much anomaly power for as high damage as possible. That's the general gist of the build. And so if we take a look at the helmet, anomaly status power, skill life leech, that's a-okay. We have increased duration, which is eruption duration. That's a very nice mod. And magma coat. It's just kind of a eruption damage there, pretty much. We go to the chest piece. We got anomaly power, status power, always a positive. Then we got debris for some more eruption damage, and then we got Giga Blast for eruption skill radius. That right there is a bonus, right? Everything there is good. And the robe, anomaly status, always good. And we got improved damage with that's more eruption damage, and Pompeii, we can cast eruption 1 extra time. All those 3 pieces there are very nice, very cool. It makes sense. You're just getting more and more damage and more utility from your eruption. We go to the hands here. We got anomaly status cooldown reduction. In terms of stats, in terms of attributes, probably the best you could get. In terms of mods, I would get rid of a radiation wave, and Burnt Out is the heat wave mod that we were talking about earlier with the 25% more damage when you damage them with heat wave. That's the reason we run heat wave. Now, if I could get rid of a radiation wave, I'd maybe put bullet kindling on there for more damage against burning enemies. That would be a positive. Other than that, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head to put in there, but a radiation wave I would preferably not have there, but getting best in slot hands is extremely hard sometimes. So those are the hands I'm running. Onto the boots, we have a normally close range cooldown. Very good boots actually. In my opinion, cooldown reduction is always a positive. Here's the thermal bomb mod that we're running though. Branded, it's a T3 mod. Enemies affected by the skill receive 40% more damage. So this is where the single target damage kind of skyrockets. Is when you apply both heat wave and thermal bomb to an enemy, and then you spam both your eruptions. They take an extremely high amount of damage. It's like you're casting about maybe, pretty much one eruption feels like two eruptions in a sense. And the last mod here is Untamed Power. Now this one's not as great as I'd want it to be, just because not many times I'm actually casting abilities in melee. The only place that this mod really helps my specific build out is when I'm like surrounded by enemies, a bunch of melee guys are next to me, and I can just melee them or use my melee skill, and I just do an explosion of damage twice. But that's with all the mods out of the way. Definitely do go back into the video and pause at any point if you need to backtrack and see some certain things, see certain mods, see the skill tree abilities, and the gun if you need to. Definitely do feel free to go back and pause it. But pretty much for the next bit here, I'm going to be just talking about how I don't really like this build and how I feel like it doesn't play as well as it could. And maybe it's just a personal thing, but we'll get right into it here. But the build, so my first legendary set that I got was the Akari set, and I used my Ash Bomb build. Link in the cards here if you want to see that video on the Ash Bomb build. Very strong build. But that was my first legendary set that I got, which was the Akari, using that build. And that build felt absolutely broken. And broken not in the sense that, you could easily clear everything. You had to try hard a bit. You had to actually try hard with that build, and if you did try hard, you could get thoroughly rewarded. I think my fastest time, and obviously this is in speedrunning terms, kind of, my fastest time on Boomtown with that build is about 3 minutes, 58 seconds, I think. I've got some pretty good times. I've got a 7-minute Stargrave, I think. I've got an 8-minute the Drought Palace. I got a 9-minute or 8-minute Colosseum, and so that build is like a speedrunning build. You can use that build to speedrun, and it's in general it's just a strong build, single target wise and AOE wise. When you jump over to this build, its set bonus doesn't give it much. Its damage is not as high as I think it should be. I feel like it should be way higher comparatively to the Akari build that I have. I don't think 40% damage increase from the set bonus is enough, and I don't think 10% cooldown reduction or cooldown reduction is enough either. I feel like if that 40% pretty much just got put at 100% and that 10% got put at 50% or maybe even 40%, it would be a viable build in terms of just general usability. But this build right here is catered to a certain play style, in my opinion. And that kind of ruins it for me here and there. It just doesn't feel good to play. Obviously, you could make the argument, use other pieces that have cooldown reduction and get Eruption down to a lower cooldown. But that, again, it's you're taking away from what the current premise of the build is just to get your Eruption damage as high as possible. Now, obviously, I'm not going to claim to be one of the best players or even that great of a player. I know I'm not the greatest, but I also know I'm not the worst. So I definitely know I'm not using the build incorrectly in a massive sense. I might make minor mishaps here and there, but the general use of the build is pretty accurate and as best as I can. At some points throughout this run, I actually just do have to hide behind a wall and wait for my cooldowns to pop up because I just can't do anything. And most of the time in this run, you'll notice that I'm just running away. I'm not really doing anything. I'm not even using my guns because there's no point. I'm just waiting for the 30-second cooldown on Eruption to end because that's all I have to wait for. Now, that's going to be the end of my little spiel here. Now, obviously, what I've said is all opinion-based. If you can make this build work and if you love playing this with this build, 100% power to you. Honestly, I encourage that stuff. But this build is personally not for me after coming down from the Akari Ash Bomb build that I created. But with that, that's going to be the end of this voiceover. I'm going to now let the playthrough or the little showcase of the build go through. I think it's a 15 Drought Palace here. It took me a few tries to get it done, but I did get it done in the end. So I'm going to let that play through. If you enjoy this video, consider giving it a like, and also consider subscribing. Helps me out a lot, and it'll be muchly appreciated. Also, if you like this content, just say hello in the chat. If you like this type of content, make a suggestion. Suggest some other mods I can do. Suggest other videos you'd like to see. It would be muchly appreciated. But with that, that's going to be the end of this voiceover, and I'll continue with the actual playthrough here. But that will be that. See you guys next time, and peace out.